This week, Emmet and I are back with our discussion of Jack Kirby's 1970s work, looking this time at Black Panther issues 3 and 4. This book is full-on solo Kirby, with all kinds of over-the-top bits and mind-blowing concepts that are mentioned and discarded, and not at all what we expect from a Black Panther book. First, I want to thank our patrons for helping to keep the show going. You can pitch in by pledging at least $2 a month at patreon.com/deconcomics. This is Tim.
This is Emmet.
And this is Deconstructing Comics. Welcome to Deconstructing Comics. This is Tim in Tokyo with Emmet in country Victoria, Australia, and a cat wandering in the background there. I think I just saw a tail in the frame of the
She's here. She's
call.
here. Listeners may also hear the voice of her sister, who likes to announce herself. Enter the room and go, I'm here too. Podcasting with pets.
And she's the black cat?
This one is, she's got those lovely little tiger stripes, but yes, the other cat is a black cat.
Okay. And we're talking about...
It's very, very vocal.
We're talking about Black Panther today, so...
Yes, well done.
So,
connection.
Jack Kirby's 70s series, Black Panther, issues 3 and 4 we're aiming to do here, unless we go really long on 3, which I don't think we will. But I was saying to Emmet, I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but the writing of this series is so much like the writing of all the other Kirby series we've talked about, which is surprising to me because with Black Panther, I had certain expectations set mostly by stories written much after this, Christopher Priest and so on, but also, by the Fantastic Four first appearance of the character, which was more like Christopher Priest's Black Panther than this is.
Well, yeah, Kirby has protagonist voice. Like the protagonist or hero always has a very similar voice. So Black Panther's dialogue here is indistinguishable to me from Captain America's dialogue, or from Mr. Miracle's dialogue. All very different characters with distinct personalities.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was having a thought on similar lines where in the first 2 issues, especially, a little bit less than this one, but I felt like he could have just been wearing white clothes that had protagonist written in black across the chest, because it was so generic. It could have been anybody. And I got into the beginning of issue 3, and we actually have a mention of him being a king. Like, oh, that's right, this is Black Panther. I kind of forgot what I was reading. It's just some guy in a black suit who's doing all kinds of non-Panther-y things.
Yeah, and
just kind of reacting to things going on around him and not really taking control very much.
We've already elaborated on this at length, but that was the genius of Christopher Priest, where he sort of established, well, this was a persona. Mm-hmm. This was a character I was playing. Because we are now used to Black Panther being regal, in control, powerful. Mm-hmm. Those are things that you're never allowed to forget about Black Panther. He usually sees you coming. Uh-huh. And here, like, he's a sidekick to a collector, which turned out as a more significant name, as we also touched on in the last episode. Mm-hmm. So it sort of renders him almost second fiddle. Mm-hmm. And it's very unusual because this is not Black Panther. Black Panther is somebody who is his key feature is how in control he is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which
even in Fantastic Four, that was clear, but not here.
He was staging everything to see if they were useful to him and to his needs. And given that I am currently living with 2 cats, this is not an unfamiliar circumstance. That is a character trait the cats all share.
And
what can you do for me?
We barely have a connection to anything. I mean, there's Wakanda. The only time Wakanda is mentioned is in the little box at the top of the splash page. Within the story, Wakanda's never mentioned. anything in Wakanda. Not even the Avengers. The Avengers aren't even mentioned. It's just kind of free-floating Black Panther, just kind of following along with these collectors. It's puzzling.
I do wonder if this was originally, Jack Thompson, hero archaeologist, and it got reworked into
Might as well be
Black Panther.
Yeah. All right. Well, so issue 3. So this was where I kind of this is Panther, because he's like flying a plane and he mentions he's a king, and lucky for us, I've been checked out on many planes of advanced design, from his country, whatever you call it. I forgot the name, but the technological advancement that we saw in Fantastic Four. So I got a little bit of a Black Panther vibe here, and they go to Africa, but they don't go to Wakanda in the story.
Very surprising, because you think that's where this is going.
Yeah.
And there's a sequence later on which is almost beat for beat from the movies. Like, the movies have borrowed some of the imagery from this, but it's not Wakanda they're going into.
Yeah.
Which is it's very unusual. So we're being wrong-footed in every step of the way here, Tim, because we have this impression of Black Panther from the succeeding media that the original work didn't really sketch.
Yeah, well, but again, the Fantastic Four was closer to anything more recent than this is. Yeah, so Abner Little, not Abner Doolittle, Abner Little is in this plane with Panther, the plane owned by Little. Yeah, the controls of my multiplane represent a true test for the most able pilot. And Princess Zanda is aboard also. And they're carrying that guy from the far future as they're trying to. That's right. They need to go find the other frog so that they can complete the time machine and send this guy back to his time.
Exactly, but like, we're well and truly into science fiction sort of tropes here, because even the multiplane bears a strong resemblance to one Starship Enterprise, complete with nacelles at the rear, and there's a sort of suggestion of warp speed, just from the art and the indications of movement. So I find it very interesting that I was just looking at Marvel Unlimited before we started speaking, and the current Black Panther book is all about Black Panther being in space, because now Wakanda has a space empire. So I find it interesting that this early comic, there's a suggestion of space travel or like science fiction, more overtly science fiction tropes in this Black Panther, and then that's where he's landed. It's Afrofuturism, and the current. It's Victor Lavelle who's writing it. I'm really excited about it.
There was Panther in space a few years ago, wasn't there?
Yes.
Is this a different series?
It's a new series.
Didn't realize there was a current series.
It's a new series. I believe it's been spun out of the events of Imperial, which was a rather moribund Marvel crossover. Oh my goodness! I think it was trying to be Game of Thrones, but it fell very short of it. But anyway, it has created some interesting story threads for some of those books that were touched on by the event crossover. So it's more of an emphasis on Marvel superheroes in space. So we've got Black Panther now trying to unify Wakanda and the space empire that the Wakandans went off to establish in that earlier run that you're referring to.
Okay. Yeah, and of course everybody's like got end of the world lines here. Stop congratulating yourselves, you two. Get on with the job. Time is passing swiftly. Princess Zanda is justifiably nervous. We're carrying a cargo more dangerous than a dozen hydrogen bombs. Panther says, that's no lie. If he starts ticking, it's goodbye world. There's only one thing to do. We've got to get rid of him. Just everything is turned to 11 here. Yeah, and then here's where we see them Panther saying we're gliding into Africa, but yeah, not Wakanda, but the Atlas Mountains. So they are going to King Solomon's tomb. And this is so Kirby too. So Little's telling them they have to fly straight towards the mountain, and it looks like they're going to crash. And he's like, "No, really, I'm sure this is how you're supposed to do it." And the door to the tomb opens like just as they're like about to crash into the mountain. So now this is an ancient tomb, but they bring up the idea, like, did the ancients have flying machines? What else? What other use could this door on the side of the mountain be? And Princess Zanda is saying, if you're hinting at the possibility of their possessing aircraft, you could be right. After all, they did build a time machine. So, it doesn't really expand on that, but just suggesting, like, maybe in the past they had more technology than we thought.
Yeah, there's like half a dozen YouTubers out there who like to make similar claims with ancient civilizations and alien technology and all this. This is all everyone's spouting this nonsense here. It is entertaining to see Kirby sort of just serve it up, and then it's like a throwaway idea, like you say. It's just like, yeah anyway, it's just some color for you.
Right. So they're going to the burial chamber, but then the ship that they just got off of explodes, and I keep wanting to call him the alien. He's not the alien. He's man from 6 million years in the future, with the huge cranium. And he was drugged in the last issue so that he wouldn't kill them, but Abner says he miscalculated the potency of the chemical that he injected, and it hasn't completely immobilized him. So we get a page of this, I'll just keep calling him the alien because that's easier, tearing up the floor and everything and trying to kill them. So why is he necessarily hostile to them? I mean, it seems like that's a Kirby thing, that everybody who's not on your side is completely hostile to you.
Yeah, potentially. Also, I think it sort of indicates just his sense of superiority. They're basically ants to him.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be like how we react to when we see a pest in our house. It's like, get the newspaper.
Yeah.
So there's a degree of that. There's a degree of his just total contempt for them.
And unlike Donna Maria in the Captain America series, Princess Zanda hasn't lost her sass at all. And she's constantly, coming up with different insults for Abner. Here she says, bungling gnat. This time there is no margin for error. One mistake will spell our doom. And so they're thinking, like, where is the frog that they brought along, the one that brought this big head guy from the future? And Abner's got it on him. It wasn't in the plane that blew up. And of course, Zanda immediately accuses him for wanting to keep it for himself. And apparently that was the case, but it also worked out that it didn't get destroyed in the explosion. So now they're running away from the alien and trying to get to the burial chamber, which has some kind of complicated lock that even Panther's not familiar with. It zaps him, and he says if he didn't have protective gloves on, he'd be dead. So it's a good thing he had protective gloves on. But Princess Zanda is familiar with this kind of lock, that you have to just like do certain hand motions in front of it. This lock emits invisible beams like our modern electric eyes. Certain hand motions will break those beams and trigger the mechanisms which open the lock, like this, and it opens.
Yeah, it's a really interesting Kirby idea. Again, it's thrown in as something for us to have a little moment of interest with, and then there's a joke. So this is adding to the throwawayness of this all. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's the automatic door.
Yeah.
it's a motion detecting automatic door. But yeah, I do enjoy this little beat.
So they go into the burial chamber, and of course, there's some kind of creature guarding it that immediately attacks Panther. And what Abner calls it an ogar. I Googled that. It didn't find anything relevant, except that Google thought it might be ogre, but I think it might just be a coincidence. I'm not sure.
Go to bed, Google AI. You're drunk. Stop ruining our life.
But this ogar seems to be all covered in metal. It looks metallic, gold skin and some sort of purple outfit he's got on. And Panther puts his mask on in order to fight the ogar because, of course, when you're in a fight, the thing you want to do is limit your peripheral vision. But the captions mention that it's a ritual mask. He fights as the Black Panther for the honor of his cult and its noble founders. Doesn't actually say the word Wakanda.
We're still, we're revising. We're revising. Who is Black Panther? Where is he from?
Yeah, it seems it's immaterial to the series, really. It just kind of comes up occasionally, but has nothing to do with the story. Abner has a plan, and he goes and finds the alien and gets the alien to chase him, almost kills him with his the flames shooting out of his eyes. But after another page of fight between the Ogar and the Panther, or 2 pages actually, then the alien shoots his rays at Abner and the Panther. They duck out of the way, and he hits the Ogar, and the Ogar is just his feet are left.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I did actually enjoy the fight scenes here. The little action beats that Kirby has on these 6-panel pages. I did like this sequence in terms of there are some inventive moves. It feels very kinetic. There's a sense of looming threat. How is the child going to get out of this one? There is actually some sense of, this is a fight scene with some stakes. Yeah. It is remarkable to me how rare that is for me now. Like, genuinely, it's just a chaos of characters on screen, or maybe a shock moment of gory violence, but an actual choreographed fight scene, relatively not well. Certainly hasn't grabbed my attention.
Well, I mean, it's the Kirby specialty, so that's what you want. There are other things that Kirby can't do, but this is something he definitely can. So they've still got the alien to deal with, and Zanda picks up a rock to hit him from behind, but of course, just as she's being warned, he has the disintegrator eye in the back of his head, and he zaps the rock out of existence. Fortunately, she was holding it above her head, or else her head might have also been zapped out of existence.
He's very considerate.
And then his ray knocks out a wall and reveals the burial chamber. And, of course, Zanda and Little, being collectors, are immediately taken with all the treasure there. And Panther's like freaking out. What's wrong with you guys? We've got to deal with this guy who's trying to kill us, and you're just wallowing in your greed for all this stuff.
Yes. So when I got to this sequence with the reveal of King Solomon's hoard, I immediately started thinking, wait a minute. Did Jack Kirby create Indiana Jones? Now, hear me out. Indiana Jones is himself a pastiche of many different sources. All these serials that George Lucas was reading as a kid. Like, I've always heard that story. But this is so similar to certain beats, up to and including the time-traveling alien has a remarkable resemblance to Kingdoms of the Crystal Skull, a movie I am definitely sure I saw. And The Dial of Destiny, which is the last one they did with Harrison Ford coming back to the role later in life. There was a lot of time travel stuff in that too. So I do wonder if there if maybe this Black Panther story was on the mood board when they were coming up with the script back in the 70s.
But the question is, does Panther hate snakes?
Does Panther hate snakes? It's an excellent question.
Coming up, issue 4. Just who are these collectors anyway? Also, apologies in advance, Emmet runs into some technical difficulties.
For more than 60 years, Dr. Victor Von Doom has been portrayed in comic books as a villain. But one podcast has been brave enough to challenge this narrative and present the man as the misunderstood anti-hero he truly is. I'm Professor Allen, and the podcast is Doom Speak. On the show, we present a more balanced view of Marvel's most maligned monarch. Over the years, we've covered his adventures in titles such as Iron Man, Doom 2099, Astonishing Tales, Silver Sable, and occasionally the title dedicated to his most persistent antagonists, Fantastic Four. If you believe that there's more behind the man behind the mask than the fake news that Big Comic wants you to think, then Doom Speak may be the podcast for you. Doom Speak can be found on all major podcast platforms as a part of the Relatively Geeky network feed and at relativelygeekypodcast.blogspot.com. Give the show a listen. And hail Doom!
The third season of the 1960s Batman TV show is almost universally regarded as the worst of the three for a variety of reasons. It is notable for having far more female villains than the other two seasons, plus a female superhero in the form of Batgirl. But far from being a feminist statement, it seems to bring out the male chauvinism in 1960s culture all the more. On our Patreon show Bat Bits, my brother Paul and I recently talked with novelist Nancy Northcott about two of Batman's cringiest episodes from a feminist point of view, as part of our series discussing the portrayal of women throughout the series. And coming up on the show, we'll be discussing the long-delayed third issue of Batman Meets Godzilla. We'll spend more time on how the recaps at the start of episodes were constructed, dig into more early drafts of Batman scripts, and more. Get access to Bat Bits by supporting our Patreon at $2 a month. At $4 a month, you also get our monthly show Silver Age Batman, where we're looking at many of the wacky Batman stories from the 50s. This month, Paul and I look at the return of Batwoman in The Challenge of Batwoman from Batman 105. Also at the $4 level, you can still access our past series that covered the first 50 issues of Amazing Spider-Man and more. Follow our Patreon for free and get access to the first 2 episodes of both Bat Bits and Silver Age Batman. Check it out at patreon.com/deconcomics, and thanks for your support. So they managed to find the other frog, which just happens to be behind Abner as he's complaining they'll never find it in time.
It's a comic moment. That's a funny little beat.
And so the alien is coming in. I need not seek you out. I know where you are. My brain has probed this chamber and found you. And he starts to shoot them with his eye beams. And then the 2 frogs are put together and the alien is sent back to his time.
It's kind of Darkseid-y as well, isn't it? You know, Darkseid and his eye beams that send you through time.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a sort of there's all these little echoes, all these, as you say, these little refrains to Kirby Marvel and Kirby DC that's sort of scattered throughout.
Yeah, this like everything is always on. It's always, you know, high stakes and panic and freaking out and everybody's out to get you. So, but the frogs send him back, and that's the end of the issue. And what is this font that he keeps using for the episode titles? I feel like I might have seen it in the other series too, but it really started to hit me with this one because every issue at the beginning and the end, it's that weird wavy font that he's probably just drawing in.
Yeah, it looks like that, doesn't it? I think it is suggestive of some of the older serial titles where you have those exaggerated typography, strange tales, things like that. I'm not sure it's accomplishing what it intends to accomplish, though. Like it's overwhelming. This little end of page tee up.
I haven't put my finger on it. There's something kind of weird about it, or something that isn't quite. I think it's a little fuzzy. It's a little hard to read, and it seems kind of a little inappropriate for how he's using it. I mean, it feels more horror-y, like ghost story-ish. This kind of woo feeling to it.
Do you know what I think of when I see that font? I think of Manos, the Hands of Fate. Like that terrible movie that Mystery Science Theater 3000 did a riff of, but it has similar styling. The font, which almost suggests like slapping a paintbrush on a piece of canvas. You know, just like friends or foes. Like there's these streaks to the lettering as well, and they're running together. Almost like, again, like paint running.
Yeah, and it doesn't have the right impact, I think. I mean, for this kind of story where everything is always turned to 11, it seems like it should have more straight lines to it rather than all the curves.
I think it's quite telling, Tim, that we spent more time talking about a font choice than we have the entirety of issue 3. Anything else in issue 3?
By the way, something I meant to bring up last time. Panther's eyeballs. I mean, we're so used to current Panther where when he's got the mask on, it's just white in his eyes. And it keeps freaking me out to see these little eyeballs in there.
Then you got Daredevil with his red eyes, and Storm just naturally has white eyes, which is also kind of confusing. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I meant to look back at the Fantastic Four story. You know, I think in a lot of that story, his face was kind of in shadow, and you couldn't really see the eyes that well. But I don't think that they had these kind of beady little eyes like Kirby's drawing here.
It does seem to be more his style, though. We've seen that before already. We've seen that with other characters. He actually puts the eyes in. He doesn't just let it be white space.
All right, so number 4. And the feature now is the Collectors. And supposedly he's going to be in battle with them. The Jungle Avenger in battle with the Collectors. It's not like a knockdown, drag-out fight, at least not in this issue. But so we see him facing somebody who's got this kind of hammer with sharp points on it. And Abner Little and Princess Zanda are in the background. Action in a mystic realm with the Black Panther.
I know you commented on Princess Zanda, like retaining her sass and not having a personality wipe, unlike the previous woman character in this in Kirby's series of titles we've reviewed. But she does sort of just stand around, like looking and askance. Like she doesn't do anything. She seemed much more capable when we met her.
Well, she did open that lock, but yeah, since then it's mostly just been insulting Abner Little and being greedy.
Even the opening of the lock felt like a sort of demonstration of her femininity. You know, it was just this delicate movement of her hands. Whereas I think when we first met her, there was a suggestion, well, she's seems very large and muscular, and there seemed to be, okay, this is somebody who can maybe do some stuff. But she's not really, she's sort of just been looking shocked in the background of panels.
Oh, we also haven't talked about Abner Little's various exclamations like galloping galaxies and flashing comets and by the stars. He keeps coming up with these. Solar sunstorms. It's always a different one.
It reminds me of a certain off-color Bill Hicks routine, which I think I should forbear myself from repeating on this audio tape. But those who know what I mean.
Okay. So on the splash page, they're still in the tomb, and the guy with the sharp hammer from the cover, we can see his full body here. He's another guardian of the tomb, and he's coming after Panther. And so we started here with another fight, and Abner picks up this ornate box that I guess he sort of figured out from the markings on it that it housed a disintegrator ray, which he uses on this guardian, and he's gone.
Eat your heart at IKEA. Like, how did he figure that out?
What does he say? Interpreting age-old inscriptions is one of my many talents. This bears the sign of Omega, the ultimate destruction. By the way, apropos of nothing, what was I was watching the other day? It was British, and they were saying Omega instead of Omega. Is that Omega? Typical British pronunciation, or?
Well, I wouldn't know, Tim. I'm not British.
Well, you would know better than I would, I think.
Omega. Is that what they're saying?
So Omega is what I would say. Well, that's what the only pronunciation I've ever heard until just recently.
Was there a pause between the O and the M?
He said he accented the first syllable, Omega.
Okay. It could be more in keeping with the Greek. I don't know. I don't speak Greek.
Possibly.
Because that's where it comes from.
I don't remember now where I heard this.
It could be sort of an academic pronunciation of it.
Yeah,
but I'm not familiar with that myself. No.
Okay.
But speaking of Omega, and speaking of Darkseid and the Omega Sanction, I mean, I'm almost tempted to see that again. All these things are related. Like Kirby has these concepts, and he'll find a way maybe to reintroduce the new gods to Marvel now. Like, is this a backdoor reference to Darkseid with the idea of everyone knows the symbol of Omega and that it represents like vaporizing people.
And Panther's like, put it down. He grabs it out of Little's hand. You two collectors have meddled enough with the objects in this tomb. Hasn't it sunk into your clouded minds that this place is one big minefield? Each ornament here may strike us with lethal force at any given moment. So they're thinking they're going to, they're arguing about what to do with the frogs. Should they just leave them there? Or, of course, Zanda and Little both want to keep them, being collectors. Panther takes away the frogs and pitches them away, and then there's an explosion. And the place is about to fall down around their ears.
Ah, yes. The pitch the object away over your shoulder, much like the way Star Wars fans are still angry about Luke Skywalker just tossing the lightsaber over a cliff. They're still mad, Tim. It's been 10 years. They're still mad. It's so crazy. Like, let it go. It was a pretty good movie, guys.
Abner knows the way out of the tomb, so Panther follows his instructions, carrying both of them, Zanda and Little, until they find this vehicle that they refer to as a chariot. I'm not sure they're wondering if it has fuel in it, and Zanda says the ancient builders were too proud to leave an inoperable object behind them. This thing is ready to run. I can sense it. And, of course, she's right. And the thing suddenly just takes off like light speed almost.
Is it meant to be Zeus, maybe? There's this sort of bearded, fiery face on the front of the vehicle. But I love this. I love the design of this thing. It's amazing. It's such a cool Kirby vehicle.
Yeah, it's all orange and red and yellow.
Yeah.
It really pops on the page. I mean, it's almost like a sports car or something. I have a feeling it might be modeled on some car that Kirby enjoyed or wanted to have in the 50s or 60s.
Well, it looks like a science fiction version of the chariots from Ben-Hur, the ornate chariots. Mm-hmm. But then I love that it takes off and it leaves these streaks of fire behind it.
Yeah.
Now, what does that remind us of, Tim? Perhaps a certain DeLorean.
Well, there again, Kirby.
There you go again. Put it on the list.
Stealing everything else is being stolen from Kirby.
For those of you listening, if one of you hasn't created a wiki by now, I'm very disappointed.
Things that Kirby did first. And so it's just zooming along, and it's heading straight for a door that appears to be jammed shut by the explosions, and they're going to crash into it. They do crash into it. They crash right through, and then they're like just flying through the air and going to plummet into the ravine. And so Panther's got his hand on a button and thinks whatever happens now can't be worse than this, and he presses it with his thumb, and the chariot sprouts wings.
It's Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang came out first.
Yes.
Roald Dahl didn't steal from Jack Kirby. Let's just put that on the record. Underline it twice. Roald Dahl did it first.
So they're flying. Actually, what this reminded me of was Toy Story. When the rocket is carrying Buzz and Woody, and then Buzz hits his wings, and they come out. They break the connection to the rocket, which goes up and explodes, and then they're flying or falling with style.
Yep. Feeding into Buzz's delusion.
I could just hear the same music here when the wings came out of the chariot. Da 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 da.
Oh, dear.
Well, I mean, that's a movie that I saw parts of many times because when my son was little, he would just play that movie over and over and over and over and over again. I still have lines memorized from that. That was 30 years ago. Okay, so they're flying around in the chariot, and then Princess Zanda's helicopter, or her jet copter, shows up, and Panther says, yeah, we better all move over there because I'm hearing weird noises from this chariot. And so no sooner are they in the jet copter than the chariot like crashes and explodes like a nuclear bomb. He says it's got a fuel problem, and I'm not referring to gasoline. Whatever it was he was referring to is left unsaid, but... And the next panel after this explosion is days later. And they're at, where are they? I'm not even, I guess this Princess Zanda's place, right? The royal palace in the exotic capital of Narobia.
So we haven't gone near Wakanda, but now we've got Narobia.
Right, so they're in Narobia, and Panther is saying to Abner Little, I've had a fantastic time in your company. And I'm like, really? Mr. Little, but I think it's time that I moved on to other pursuits. And Little is just kind of lounging around, drinking some tea, eating fruit or something. That you can see some bananas and grapes there on the table. Little says, does Princess Zanda know that you're checking out of these plush diggings? Which Panther takes as an implication that they're not free to go. And then some of these like soldier type guys come in and say, come with us, and throw them into some other room where that they can't get out of, and now they've got an armored samurai throwing a spear at them. The whole samurai thing is gone into more detail here in a bit, but why are there samurai in Africa? I don't know. But Panther fights the guy. I thought it was interesting that he sliced the spear as if it were cheese, not butter, not with a hot knife, but cheese. I don't think I've ever heard that comparison in this kind of situation.
I don't know, maybe Kirby's just tired of cliches.
So Emmet is still present, but we're having technical difficulties that we can't solve at the moment. So I'm just going to finish up the issue here. So Panther eventually manages to get the samurai to stumble and punches him out. And then Princess Zanda, we see her face on a TV screen. She says, "You've acquitted yourself with high marks, Panther, as I'd hoped that you would." He says, "Thanks for nothing, Zanda." And then a wall rises or something, and then we see not only Zanda, but the other collectors. Panther says, "I'm not in the mood to listen to anything except the word goodbye." But they want to talk with him. "Not yet, Panther. We didn't test you without test you." They were testing him with the samurai there. "We didn't test you without reason. You will stay and listen to us." And Zanda says, "That was a real samurai you fought. His kind still exists. Hundreds of years ago, his clan was driven into exile to an area so remote, apparently not even in Asia, it was not discovered until this day. The capture of the samurai by one of my raiding parties revealed what the collectors have always suspected." He says, the collectors, eh? Stop right there. I'll have no part in your schemes." But there's a gun pointed at Panther, and someone says, "Silence." "Nonsense. You've proved that you're the one man who can enter the secret domain and return with that which we seek." So something in the samurai realm that they want Panther to get for them. And we're introduced to them. There's a guy named Count Zorba. I wonder if he's Greek. And of course, Zanda. And then Colonel Pigman, who is British, "Rather, old boy," he says. And Silas Mourner, who is kind of a weird-looking guy. I'm not sure what's going on with his eyes. It's like a lot of mascara on or something, and wrinkled face and kind of a hillbilly hat. And I feel like that name is referring to another character, Silas Mourner, but I'm not quite sure on that.
This is maddening because I know what it is.
Okay, well, so say what it is, and I'll repeat it in not robot voice.
Silas Marner is a novel by George Eliot.
Okay, George Eliot novel. Silas Marner. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, Panther tries to excuse himself, and Little is also skeptical of this until he is handed a map that verifies everything that they're saying. And so now he's convinced the samurai city is not a myth, and now he's pleading with Panther, "Please listen, that city is a fact, which means that somewhere within its confines is an artifact worth the lives of thousands of men. Well, don't count mine as one of them. Goodbye." So we're ending up here with all the collectors trying to convince Panther to do their errand for them, which is not very well defined yet. We'll have to see in the next issue. So, Mr. Roboto, any final words?
Life is pain.
Okay. Yeah, and technical difficulties. So we'll solve the problem, and we'll do couple more issues in the future here. So see you next time. Black Panther is published by Marvel. Any audio experts out there who can diagnose the problem with Emmet's microphone, email us at mail@deconstructingcomics.com. Follow us on Blue Sky at Decon Comics. Join our Facebook page or the more active group. Listen to our audio-only videos on YouTube. All of those are linked from deconstructingcomics.com, as is our voicemail. You can communicate with us via social media or drop us a line at mail@deconstructingcomics.com. And of course, we'd love it if you shared episodes with your friends and left us a review in Apple Podcasts or other podcast outlets. Are you making a comic? Send it to us and we'll do a Critiquing Comics episode about it. Our theme is by J.B. Anderton. The music backing the promotion of our Patreon is Change by Jazar. Last Saturday, I published an episode of Critiquing Comics in which Adam and I discussed the latest from Ian M. His book tells one story through the formats of various types of comics. One book that reminded me of is The Art of Charlie Chan Hok Chai by Sonny Liu, which also presents its history of Singapore through a variety of comic styles that imitate at least a dozen famous comics artists. It's an impressive work, but also sometimes puzzling. Kumar and I did an episode on Sonny Liu's book back in 2017, and next week we'll flash back to that episode. Till then, this is Tim, and thanks for listening to Deconstructing Comics.